What's going on, my people? Welcome back to another episode of the Stop the Count podcast. In this episode, we'll be talking about the upcoming UFC Fight Night and Golden Boy boxing card. It's not the best week for combat sports, but at least it's something. And we will also be getting into Chivas' next upcoming game. Starting with some news, Liam Smith versus Chris Eubank Jr. will be happening on June 17th in England. Also announced was Josh Franco heading back to Japan to face Kazuto Ioka on June 24th. Another good fight for the June 24th date is Fernando Martinez, as he will be facing Jaimearboleda for the IBF belt. Now for some news that has to do with someone really big in the MMA world. An arrest warrant has been issued for Nate Diaz for second-degree battery on the Logan Paul lookalike. As some of you may know, he was caught on video choking out Logan Paul's lookalike. What do you guys think about the situation? Now, I'll start off by talking about the Golden Boy boxing card. It's not the best card, and it is headlined by Williamzepeda. I'll start off by talking about a couple fights I will be looking forward to. One of those being David Stevens, an undefeated super middleweight prospect. Another prospect would also be Raul Curiel, an undefeated welterweight prospect. Now, there is a fight going down between two good fighters. I won't be getting too much into it, but it's Diego De La Hoya, and he will be facing Victor Morales. There was supposed to be a championship fight on this card, as champion Marlene Esparza was supposed to face Gabriela Alanis. Both of these women are champions, and the fight was postponed due to visa issues with Gabriela. It is being targeted for a May 27th date. Now, the headlining fight is Williamzepeda versus Jaimearboleda. This will be Jaime's first fight at 135 pounds. I won't get into this fight, as I believe it's pretty clear William will win. I am a fan of William, but Golden Boy still wants to build him up, as they did reject the fight between him and Shakur Stevenson. William is also, I believe, a top 10 ranked WBC lightweight fighter. Now I'll talk about the UFC Fight Night. It's not the best card, but it's still a good card. The previous main event, in my opinion, which was Arman Tsarukyan versus Renato Moicano, would have made it a great card. Now, getting into some fights I'll be looking forward to, the first being Cody Durden versus Charles Johnson, a good fight between two flyweights. From there, the only fights that intrigue me are the final three, the first being Ronaldo Vieira versus Cody Brundage. This is going to be a sleeper for fight of the night, as both of these fighters are going to want to get back in the win column. The co-main for this fight night is caioborralho versus michaeloleksikczuk. I'll start off by talking about Caio. He currently has a record of 13 wins, 1 loss, with 7 wins by finish, and on a 10-fight win streak. Now, I see Caio as a very patient fighter. He does at times leave his hands down real low when standing. The good thing for Caio is he likes to take his fights to the ground, and when he gets to the ground, that's when he shows his best skills. There are times when he's on the ground that he does try to do a little too much, and that's when he loses position. Now, talking about Michael. He has a record of 18 wins, 5 losses, with 14 wins coming by finish, 13 of those 14 being by knockout. In his almost 5-year UFC career, he's only made it to the third round 3 times. His last loss was a loss to Dustin Jacoby at light heavyweight. Now, I see Michael as a great striker. He's not the best when it comes to the ground, although in top control is where Michael can do the most damage on the ground, as he showed in his last fight against the previously named Cody Brundage. He throws everything with intent to knock you out, and when he is standing, he could care less about his defense. Now, as for who I have winning this fight, I believe that Michael will be able to come out victorious, as Caio usually spends the first couple of minutes standing up, and that will be when Michael pushes the hardest. Now, if he makes it past the first round, I believe there's no way Michael wins. Now, I'll talk about the main event, songyadong versus rickysimon. A great fight between the respective 8 and 10 ranked fighters in the bantamweight division. I'm going to keep these short, but I'll start off by talking about songyadong. He has a record of 19 wins, 7 losses, and 1 draw, with 11 of those wins coming by finish. Now, he has also been stopped twice. In his last fight against Corey Sandhagen, he was stopped due to a bad cut over his eyebrow. Now, Song is a very good striker. He throws everything with power. He is showing improvement on the ground every fight. He also has good takedown defense. Now, getting into Rickysimon. He has a record of 20 wins, 3 losses, with 10 wins coming by finish. His last loss coming to Rob Font by decision a little over 3 years ago. Since then, Ricky has been on a 5-fight win streak. Now, Ricky is going to want to take this fight to the ground. I believe Ricky will attempt many takedowns and be okay with staying in a clinch or just holding Song down. Ricky also has a good stand-up game. He has shown that his last couple of fights, knocking his opponents down, and ultimately that's what led him to victory. Now, for who I have winning this fight, I believe that Songyadong will be victorious, as I believe he has a good enough takedown defense to keep Ricky off of him, and Song is the better stand-up fighter with enough power to get Ricky out of there. Now, there's also the bare knuckle fighting card. The only fight I want to mention is Mike Perry versus Luke Rockhold, and I'm not going to break it down, but I want Luke Rockhold to win because I've always been a fan of his. Now I'll talk about the Chivas game. They are facing Mazatlan. Now, in their last 6 matches of facing each other, Chivas has a record of 4 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw, with the most recent ending in a 2-1 win for Mazatlan. Now, Mazatlan is in last place in the standings with 7 points and have lost their last 2 games. This is another very important game for Chivas because by winning the game, they secure themselves a top 3 finish for the first time in over a decade. If they draw, they leave the possibility in the hands of Toluca. Now, with a loss, Pachuca also has a chance to knock them out into 5th place. This is a typical game where Chivas play to the level of their opponent and drop points, and I'm hoping that doesn't happen. Piojo Alvarado and Chiquito Orozco should also be back, and now as for who I have winning, I believe Chivas will be trying to send a message and also try to get that week off, and they will pull off a 3-0 victory and solidify themselves in the top 4, and people will recognize them as a real title contender. Thank you guys for staying until the end. See you guys next week as we go over what went down over the weekend. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow me on Twitter at StopTheCount10. See you then.